Legal Shield family, this is your servant CEO, Jeff Bell, and I'd like to spend a few moments in memoriam for one of the great leaders of Legal Shield that we lost this last week, Jim Merritt. As we know, Jim was a husband, a father, a lawyer, a leader, a friend, and a gentleman. As Proverbs 32 says, because he showed himself friendly, he had friends, for he was a friend that sticketh closer than any brother. To his family, as Shakespeare said, he had a nobleness of mind, wisdom and peace, virtue, and he was fair in humility. He left us too soon, and he left us too suddenly. When a person dies unexpectedly, we frequently ask, why? Indeed, for many, we ask why God would take someone so beloved. But I suggest that we're asking the wrong question, because while we wish to edify God with that question, we forget that He has given us free will. We live our lives as we choose, both in the purposeful and in the random. And sometimes tragedy occurs in both circumstances. God always loves us. And when death comes unexpectedly, His is the first tear that is shed. We mourn. Grief can be shared, but it is very personal and it is very private. It is a void. There is the feeling of permanent loss. And that is why we must fill that emptiness with both a celebration of Jim Merritt's incredible life and affirmation of the great lessons he left for us to follow. Jim was a man of reason and of passion. He never accepted a decision or course of action unless it had been thoroughly considered, debated, and resolved. He demanded commitment to the core principles of our great society: equality, justice, and liberty. Jim Merritt was a friend indeed because he helped a friend in need. He was a lawyer who had a professional revelation. He saw that there was a better way to protect and empower citizens. It was something that he originally condemned, or at least was skeptical about, but ultimately championed: this prepaid legal services, now Legal Shield. Yes, he was a skeptic. He had been raised in the traditional practice of law, finding clients that could pay high hourly rates, meaning that only the wealthy and big businesses could participate. But then a young girl was injured while in the care of a hospital. Her family had a prepaid legal membership. Jim was asked, as a preeminent malpractice attorney, to represent the girl. It was in his review that he realized that without the membership, this girl would have no justice at all. The only way that she would have the best possible counsel and representation, namely Jim Merritt, came because of the idea about which he had previously been skeptical. After winning justice for his client and her family, Jim never stopped being the most ardent supporter of our mission to provide equal access to equal justice for all. Jim was a dedicated and skilled lawyer, as certainly as any I have ever known. But he was also a skilled businessman, principally in his commitment to providing the highest level of service to his clients, both in the quality of law, but also in the quality of the care. He focused upon the process by which we could best serve our members, confident in the legal skills of his team of lawyers. When someone dies young, we must recall the story of the great philosopher Solon, who stated when asked who was the most blessed and happy of all men he had ever met. And he told the story of Telos the Athenian, whose wife and children were noble and good, who was professionally successful, and who gave his life in the service of his community. My friends, that is the story of Jim Merritt. And it is the truth that we must console ourselves with in this time of loss. Let me end by recalling the words from a verse of T.S. Eliot's poem. To do the useful thing, to say the courageous thing, to contemplate the beautiful thing, that is enough for one man's life. That is the lesson of A Life Well Lived. A Life Well Lived by Jim Merritt. Our tribute to Jim is to pick up his mantle and to soldier on in our crusade. Goodbye, my friend. We will carry on with thee.